Kate and Katie, and we are from the Private Practice Startup. We're here for episode number 9 of Level Up, where we help you to build your dream practice and live that dream lifestyle.
Woo-hoo.
Yes. And we want to thank TherapyNotes for sponsoring this series. They're an amazing EHR, and they're going to offer you 2 months for free. So definitely click the link and take advantage of that with code PPS, as in the Private Practice Startup.
So today's question
dive in.
is a several-part question, and we wanted to thank several people from writing in. So Ana Leticia Lopez Engelhart asks, how do I figure out where I should open an office to have my practice flourish? So this is all about office space today. So some of the things that are really important when talking about office space is, number one, you always want to consider your ideal client. Where does your ideal client live? Where do they work? You want to, establish an office space in an area that's accessible to them.
It really depends on your business model and the type of practice that you have. Because if you have an online business, you can establish your practice anywhere, right? But if you have a brick and mortar office, you really want to be strategic and being really clear on who your target market is, who your ideal clients are within that, and then also thinking about the referral sources and the treatment stakeholders in the community who you're going to want to develop those really solid referral relationships with. You want to make sure that your office is in a convenient location for them. That's something super important to think about.
Some of the things that we don't usually think about or talk about is really understanding like the building, the area. Does it feel safe? A lot of times clinicians see clients after hours. So is it safe for you? Is it safe for client? Or is there enough parking? What is the feel of the inside of the building? Like your office might be beautiful. If everything is broken and run down, that will also convey a message. So those are things you're also going to want to really take in consideration. Other things to really take in consideration is your budget. Budget is really important. So if you're just starting out, and this kind of goes into our next question, which I'll read at the same time. How about I read that? So this is from Sela Fisk. Sela asks, what should I consider when leasing an office? And then Sela asks thoughts about waiting room versus no waiting room. So let's continue the conversation. It's really about budget. I know that when I first started practice, again, you've probably heard Kate and I talk numerous times that we just started practice on a wing and a prayer, and that didn't really work. I know that my first office space, I had to consider, I said to myself, if I spend $5,000 this year, because that was my lease agreement, and have no clients, can I afford that? And the answer was yes. Obviously I had clients, not that many that very first year, but you really have to consider that. If you're just first starting out, would it behoove you to kind of rent by the hour? Or do you already have business skills? Do you have a budget? Are you already marketing your practice where you have a consistent flow of clients? Sometimes people jump into really long-term lease agreements, 5 years, 8 years. And if you're just starting out, that would be something we do not recommend until your office and practice is really, really flourishing and consistent.
Yeah, it's really ideal if you're just starting out and you don't have any clientele and you're really starting from scratch to be able to find an office that you can rent by the hour. That's something that I did when I first started. It was extremely helpful as I built up my practice and really allowed me to get my feet under me before actually opening my own office. And there's a lot of expenses that go into opening up a practice, furnishing the office. And if you do an office build out, that's a whole nother story. So it really just depends on what the vision is and where you are in the whole practice building journey.
And the other question was about waiting room versus no waiting room. So, waiting room is really important if you're going to see back-to-back clients. If you're not, and you're willing to kind of schedule maybe 30 minutes in between clients, then maybe a waiting room is not completely necessary. Again, like Kate said, it really goes back to your business model, how you want to run your practice. I know for me, I personally have specific days that I'm in the office. I'm only blocked out for 15 hours, and I see clients back to back to back. So for me, that wouldn't be an option at this time.
And for me, I like to have a little break in between sessions. I like to schedule myself a 15 to 30 minute break just because I need time to shift gears. I need time to go to the restroom. I like to get my note done. I like to check my email. And
you don't do that all in the restroom all at the same time?
No.
I totally have. Guilty.
I have in the past seen clients back to back to back to back to try and be as efficient as possible. And I found that I was leaving myself super drained at the end of the day. And then I'd just be there catching up on things and doing all my notes, and it just was not working for me. So it really depends on what your ideal practice looks like. And for me, I do like having that little bit of separation between knowing that my clients are outside of my office, in the waiting room, waiting to be seen when I'm exactly ready to see them, and not just, I don't know, it might feel a little pressured to not have a waiting room, I would imagine.
One of the things, just kind of going back for a second, other things to consider is what is included in the cost of your rent if you are going to lease, right? So you want to be sure that you understand everything that you're going to have to pay extra, internet, those types of things, other things that you're going to need to think about expense-wise. So that was just another thought.
Sometimes utilities.
Yeah.
All sorts of hidden expenses.
Yep. So the third part of the office question is from Laura Ann. And Laura Ann asks, what about doing a build out with another colleague who has their own LLC? Good question.
I just spent the past year doing a build out myself, and it's quite the journey. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but it's amazing. If you're working from a space that's just from scratch, you get to build it out to your exact specifications. So the end result of that can be so worth it. In the process of doing the build out, though, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of money as well. It depends on what kind of real estate environment you live in, because if it's a buyer's market, it's going to look one way. If it's a seller's market, it's going to look another way. So you really want to think about that aspect of it. And when you're working with a partner, we encourage you to really ensure that you're choosing to align yourself with someone who really shares your values, shares your vision. Because imagine being in a space with someone that is not aligned with your values and your vision, and you're trying to make decisions, 1 year down the road, 2 years down the road, even in the initial phase of doing the whole build out, it could be a nightmare. But if you choose someone that you're really aligned with and on the same page with, and you love working with, you guys are collaborative, it can be a huge relief to share that with somebody, not only financially, but the amount of energy and effort that goes into doing a build out, designing the build out, furnishing the build out, and making sure that your office environment really looks the way that you want it to.
One of the important things that I really love to talk about, because I love to wear my legal hat, even though I'm not a lawyer, but I'm very legal based, is when you are engaging in a relationship with someone that is legal, right, is that you really talk through every aspect of the relationship and all the things that could happen, including like when we divorce, right? A lot of times we go into marriage and we've never talked about the legal stuff, but marriage is a legal thing, and really partnering with other people and leases and things like that, that is a legal thing. So it's really important to talk through those things and really talk about, how are we going to break up? What's going to happen? Who's going to get what? Are you going to sell it? Do you just take it over? The other thing to consider, I know definitely here in Florida, this is something that's not talked about, and you really want to talk with your accountant about that, is like sales tax. So if someone is renting from you, so if you're renting space, is you actually charge them sales tax, because you'll get charged sales tax. So those are things that you want to also consider. So speaking to your attorney as well as an accountant before you jump into this partnership, as well as thinking forward of when this ends, what will this look like?
Yes, you definitely want to have that clear business operating agreement for sure.
Yeah, and it's really helpful, like when you have that discussion, it just kind of like makes things easy. You know what to expect and predict. And Kate and I had that discussion way back when.
Yes, what happens?
Even though we don't share office
what happens
space,
if we break up?
Yeah, so.
Because when you're getting into business with someone, it's like a marriage. It really is.
Yeah. So thanks, guys, for your questions. This was awesome. This again is Kate and Katie from the Private Practice Startup, and remember, you guys
got this.